What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Duenkel Productions Podcast presented by Wisconsin Sports Heroes. You guys know the vibes. We're back. We're back at it again. Had a couple great episodes. Just want to say before we get started here, huge shout out to everybody. Numbers are going through the roof. We've gained 7 subscribers today. So huge shout out to everyone that's hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification. Keep doing it. If you guys know someone that likes sports talk, tell them, hey, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. We talk about all kinds of sports, and tonight we are talking about offensive linemen with Coach Riley, who he's a strength and conditioning coach for high school. So huge shout out to him for joining us. But man, how are you doing?
Doing good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to hear that your subscribers are going up. I love your stuff. I love talking, especially when it's offensive line. I see that you brought your Ohio State stuff. Yeah, I had to put my Camp Randall background on. You know, I can't be looking like I'm advocating Ohio State here. So, but I'm happy to be on. Yeah, let's get to it, Duncan.
And he knew it was coming, by the way. I sent him the pre-outfit today. I was like, I'm ready. But yeah, no, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate all of our guests, but especially you. We're excited for this next episode, which I believe is 31 or 32. You know, I've been getting the numbers wrong lately, so I'm gonna give myself kind of like a window to go on. But yeah, let's get it started. So when I asked you to come on the show, you said you wanted to talk some offensive line. So
I'll talk hours about offensive line. I could do it with anybody. So I'm happy to get some offensive line love in this podcast.
that's awesome. Well, let's hear the top 5 offensive lines in the NFL from you. I'm interested to hear this.
So I was looking at some offensive lines, and there's a few things that surprised me. Number one, I know Packer fans will hate it, but I love this offensive line. Cleveland Browns. Oh, I think they are tier 1 by themselves. Tier 2 is like with the Packers, but the Browns across the board are almost top 5 in the position. You look at left tackle Jedrick Wells. He by all means he was maybe the best rookie left tackle in the sport. Joel Bitonio is usually a Pro Bowl. He actually had a down year, but he was still top 10 in the league. I love Joel Bitonio. He's a great follow on Twitter, by the way. J.C. Treader, former Packer, Harvard grad. I mean, what's not to love about him? Maybe my favorite lineman, and this is me talking as a former right guard, but Wyatt Teller is an absolute butt kicker out there. If you have a few hours or something on a Sunday afternoon and missing football, you should look up Wyatt Teller highlights. The guy just mauls. And then at right tackle, Jack Conklin, the Titans missed him a lot. He was actually on PFF. He was actually the number 1 rated right tackle in the league. I think him and Bakhtiari, I think, are the only 2 tackles in the league that have pressure rate high or lower than 3%. So across the board, the Browns are just unbelievable. It's a huge strength of their offense, and it really showed in their run game. So moving on, I'll stop talking about the Browns. I know your subscribers probably don't love the Browns, so I'll get right into Green Bay Packers, number 2. It's hard for me to put a team above the Packers. I'm a Packer fan. At least Joe Thomas, my dude, follows me on Twitter. Fun fact. Yeah, he's so I guess the Browns, if there's one team I could put above the Packers, it'd be the Browns. But Green Bay, Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Lindsley, even Lucas Patrick stepped up and had a pretty good season, besides 1 or 2 rough games. Right tackle, you have a combo between Billy Turner / Rick Wagner. Maybe the best left side of the line in NFL. Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Lindsley are top 5 maybe in their positions. The right side is a little bit shaky. And to me, that's kind of where the Browns separated themselves. Patrick, Turner, Wagner, they're not bad, but they're very average to slightly above average. Bakhtiari, you can't say enough praises about him. He was so missed in that playoff game. Lindsley, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Probably the best center in the league. And then my boy Elton Jenkins. I love Elton Jenkins. He's so versatile. He's just a great asset to have on the line. You can plug him anywhere. It'd be interesting to see where they put him next year with Bakhtiari out for a chunk of time. I guess I want your opinion. Where do you think Jenkins plays next year?
Oh, I think definitely center, or left tackle, or left guard. Really anywhere. I watched him play a lot this season at many different positions, and there was no fall off in any of the games where he had to move around. So I think I definitely think the Packers, what they've been doing with drafting O linemen, they're definitely prepared to get younger on that O line, and I think they're gonna have a couple guys come in there next year and step in. I look out for Runyon. I think he's gonna
Yeah.
I think he's gonna come in probably and solidify that right guard spot, or maybe left guard. Kick Jenkins maybe into center or maybe left tackle until Bakhtiari is good to go.
I think that we can't forget uh, Lane Taylor might be back too. He was a big asset for them. But I have a hunch that they're going to try Jenkins at left tackle for a while because Bakhtiari torn ACL. He's going to be out for maybe half the season, maybe more. And left tackle is a huge, as we all know, is a huge spot in that line. So a good thing is with a guy like Jenkins, wherever you put him, he's going to be a plus. It's just I think it depends on what they do in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a draft pick. But we'll talk about college linemen in a second. I'll move on. Number 3. This one hurt a little bit. I actually have the Buccaneers at number 3. Partially because Tom Brady is maybe the easiest quarterback to block for all time. If you look for how he stands in the pocket and how quick he releases the ball, it's incredible. But you can't overlook the numbers on the offensive line. They were all top tier pressure rate guys. They're all really good, including their rookie Tristan Wirfs. He was excellent. I believe he's a top 5 right tackle already. He's a rookie and he's solid. Donovan Smith is a good left tackle. I got to give D3 love to Ali Marpet. He's awesome left guard. Ryan Jensen, he's a butt kicker too at center. And then Alex Kappa to round it off. That's a really solid offensive line. And I know we still have really hard feelings against the Buccaneers, but I like that offensive line a lot. And of course, brownie points for having the D3 guy. But Tristan Wirfs, I don't think people talk about him enough. It's kind of a rare thing to see an all-pro right tackle that's a rookie. He played at an all-pro caliber, and that's really rare as a rookie. I love him, even though he's from Iowa. I love him. Number 4, a team that struggled, but it's the Patriots. I think on Pro Fantasy Football, they were ranked 4. I forgot to mention the Buccaneers. I think were ranked 5th, but most of their struggles came from the first 5 weeks or so when they weren't on that huge roll they had at the end. But the Patriots, Illuminor at left tackle, he's okay. That's kind of their weak spot. Joe Thuney's been there for a while. He's a good left guard. David Andrews is one of my favorite centers. He's a big Alabama type guy. Shaq Mason, very good right guard. And then another really good rookie right tackle, Mike Iwanwu. It's a really good right side of the line. And I think it's kind of a theme that you're seeing here. These rookie tackles really doing well this year. And that's encouraging to see because it hasn't been the case in the past. But Patriots are really good. If they can get a quarterback and some wide receivers, I think they're back at being in contention. And then I promised you a top 5, so I'll round it out. And this really surprised me, but I looked up the numbers before I agreed to this video. And number 5, it was a team that was bottom 5 last year, but they had a huge bounce back, and it's the Rams. And you think about the Rams, they have really good tackles, Whitworth and Havenstein. Gotta support Havenstein, former Badger. And then 3 inside guys who really struggled last year. And I wrote down some of these numbers because I couldn't believe it. In terms of the rating system on PFF, Whitworth plus 16 points from last year. Austin Corbett, the left guard, plus 20. Brian Allen plus 20. Austin Blythe plus 20. Rob Havenstein plus 30. So this is a really improved offense. And Goff's pressure rate went down from almost 40% to under 30%, which was top 5 in the league. So you can't overlook what they've done. Really good tackles. It goes to the inside. And that leads me to my honorable mention. Speaking of really good tackles and a weak inside, the Saints are right there. Tron Armstead and another former D3 guy and another former Badger, Ryan Ramczyk. Maybe the best tackle combo in the NFL, but their inside is really weak. And then the Colts are the other honorable mention. Can't overlook Quentin Nelson. Ryan Kelly's very good. But injuries really hurt them this year, and they just didn't have that offensive line like they usually have. But that is my top 5. Sorry that was long-winded. What do you think?
All right, so huge shout out for you for breaking that down. I feel like I got a so much better understanding of offensive line right now. My knowledge is just going off the charts. But my top 5 that I came up with, I agree with you on the Browns. I mean, Juju said the Browns is the Browns, but the Browns they're a very good football team. And one of the reasons they were so good this year in that running game and Baker Mayfield, his development was because of that offensive line. You look at Jack Conklin, you look at Wyatt Teller, you look at, all these guys, Batonio, one of my favorite players in the league outside of the normal skill position guys is Batonio, and then Jedrick Wills also having a great season. I think they're definitely number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Green Bay. I think when you look at last season, again, Rodgers was able to have that MVP season because he had a lot of time to throw the ball. He had time to let guys get open. You know what I mean? Guys were able to get open because he was so well protected. And also their running game was very good last season, which part of it was because a big part of that was because of the offensive line and obviously Matt LaFleur's scheme as well. Number 3, I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots. I mean, when you look at their O-line, when you look at Andrews and Mason and all them guys and Thuney, that inside is as good as anybody in the NFL. They're as good as anybody. So I think they're definitely really good. I think a lot of people sleep on them because, a lot of people thought, oh, it's Brady and Belichick, it's all about them. But, Brady had a lot of time to throw that ball, especially in that 28-3 comeback. What people don't realize is, Brady was able to have a ton of time in that pocket to be able to deliver those deep throws down the field. Number 4, Tampa Bay Bucks. Like you were saying, Tristan Wirfs, one of the most slept-on players in the league. Ryan Jensen, really not a huge fan of the way, he goes about the game on the field. But he's a good player. He's a good player. You got to give him credit. And then, Donovan Smith obviously isn't bad either. Like you were saying, they gave Tom Brady time to throw that football, and it was one of the big reasons that they were able to make to the Super Bowl this season and end up winning the Super Bowl. Number 5, I really struggle with because I kind of had the Rams, the Saints, the Colts. But I'm just gonna go with the Colts. I think when you talk about their offensive line, they were so good last season. And that was one of the reasons they were able to be in that game against Buffalo. Is Phillip Rivers had that time to throw the football. And I think out of those 3 offensive lines, I think Quentin Nelson's the best out of those, but definitely the Rams, the Saints are in that honorable mention category for me. And I think it's definitely cool to see that we have a lot of good offensive linemen in the league today. There's obviously guys on that list that we didn't even mention that are good. But yeah, I mean, I thought your list was good. I don't obviously know as much about offensive line If you asked me to rank wide receivers or corners, I'd be able to do that pretty easily. O-line's your bread and butter, and I'll give you credit for that. Huge credit. And I was happy we were able to talk about some NFL, something different about the NFL. But let's talk about college now. Kind of like the best O-lineman in college. We just kind of open this up as like a general topic. I know that you've shown a lot of highlights of the Alabama guys inside. My guy Wyatt Davis is a beast. Watched a lot of tape on him. Love Big 52. Going to the draft. Hope he lands somewhere good. Maybe he ends up in Green Bay, and that'd be a dream. That'd be a dream. Another Ohio State offensive lineman.
I'd take right over for Lindsley. He was an Ohio State guy. People forget that.
See, you like Lindsley.
Oh yeah. I mean, any Packer offensive lineman, I'm gonna like. I struggled liking Marshall Newhouse. I won't lie, but we won't talk about that anymore. Big Ten guys. I'll start off with the guy that you mentioned. I like him a lot too, because he will no longer be playing for Ohio State. I'll say that. Wyatt Davis, redshirt junior, Ohio State. He was a first team All Big Ten guy. I think he'll start in the NFL as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be one of the few guards that you can plug in and play. I think he'll be a day one guy, or possibly, since the NFL draft is different now, he's probably a day two guy. I'm not sure if he'll go in the first round. That's all we do in the first day now. But second, third round, even early second round, it'll be interesting to see what he does at his pro day and combine. These linemen can really hurt themselves or really improve themselves and where they get drafted. But Wyatt Davis is an absolute butt kicker out there. He's unbelievable power for a college guy. Power that I haven't really seen since, I don't know if you remember Alex Mack. He was one of my favorite interior guys when he was at Cal. He reminds me a lot of Alex Mack, but he'll play the guard. I think he could also play center. And like I said, he absolutely dominated on the field, and he made a lot of really good defensive linemen look like third stringers. And he's one of the guys that I think you can plug in and play. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I know Green Bay is going to have a hole to fill. You never know. Yeah, draft Ohio State guy for Ohio State guy leaving. Speaking of centers, I'm going to give another guy, Ohio State guy. Josh Myers is really good. Another redshirt junior leaving early. I think he'll be day two. I think he'll be late second, early third round. I'm not sure if he's a guy that will plug in and play right away as much as Wyatt Davis is, but he's another guy that absolutely dominated. He's not as flexible. He's not as sideways mobile. He's not as much of a guy as Davis is, but Myers is unbelievable strength as well. These two guys, I'm really looking forward to, as a strength coach, looking forward to see what they put up on the 225. It doesn't mean a whole lot as an offensive lineman. It's your power doesn't come from the bench press as an offensive lineman, but it's fun to see what these guys can do. I don't know what it was years ago in the Pro Bowl when that offensive line guy got like 45 reps, just unbelievable. That was years ago. I might be dating myself, but I'll stick with the interior guys, and this is surprising to some, but there was a really good kid in Illinois, Kendrick Green, another redshirt junior, first team All Big Ten, guard / center. I don't believe he'll be a plug-in and play guy right away, but I don't want to discredit the things he did. He looked really good against Wisconsin, really mobile, really lateral. He was really good. I think maybe a possible day three guy. I would be surprised. He's a little undersized. Great footwork again, though. Another thing that I really like, and I made this list in mind of, is he finishes plays. You get a lot of it at the D1 level when you're an elite talent of just blocking your guy out of the way and then quitting on the play. A guy from Illinois like this kid, he did really well. I guess we could talk about the draft now and upcoming guys. This guy didn't play, but he could be a top 10 draft pick. Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. I was really interested to see what he would have done this year. Maybe it's a good thing he didn't play. He probably had the biggest to lose out of any of these guys. But then again, he could have been a top 5 pick. You just never know. But he opted out this season. Very athletic, very mobile. I think he's only like 6'4". He's playing left tackle, so it'll be interesting to see if they try to move him to guard or not. I think he'll be a guy that could play right away. I'd like to see him get a little bit stronger, but
do you think
be a top 10 pick?
Do you think he could hold up at left tackle if a team puts him out there?
It'd be interesting to see. It's so hard to judge these guys because they haven't played for a whole year,
right?
And I think that might hurt him. Football is a very tough sport to take a year off from. There's nothing really like game action for experience.
Right.
But again, this is an elite talent guy, so he might be fine.
Right.
But we'll see. Another guy I'm interested to see how he does at the combine. Another first-round draft pick is Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. I think he only played like 2 or 3 games this year because of injury, but he's another day one type kid. Pretty aggressive. I think he'd be more of a right tackle, but he'll be good. And then I got to give some love to some Badgers here. Cole Van Lanen he had really high hopes for him at left tackle this season, came in high praise. I ended up 3rd team All Big Ten, had an up and down year. Right now I don't think he's projected to be drafted right now, but he's a guy that could really shoot up given his pro day in combine. I believe he was invited to the combine. I really don't remember. But if he can show out in that, I think it would help him because he has that big frame that NFL guys are looking for, 6'6" plus, 320 plus.
Right.
And then another guy that was up 3rd team All Big Ten, Logan Bruss, right guard. He had a really good year for Wisconsin. He improved a ton. I guess that's my thoughts on this year. That's who really impressed me. I wonder if you have any notes on these guys. If not, I'll move right into Badgers next year. I got a little preview of what to expect of their offensive line because I'm all excited.
So I want to ask you about Tucker, I believe is his name, from USC. I believe he's projected first round. I've watched a little bit of tape on him. I'm working on a mock draft, which will be coming to the channel soon, just so you guys know. I've been working on a mock draft, and I really don't know about Tucker from USC. I know his name is hard to say. I'll tell you that.
If you look at him, the first thing that he reminds you of is Tyron Smith. He even went to the same school. You always see, for whatever reason, develops left and right tackles really well.
Right.
He's got a very, very similar build to Tyron Smith, and that's impressive. It'll be interesting to see what he does in the combine. He looks a little lean. I think he'll be very athletic. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where some of these tackles go.
Yeah, and just throwing this out there as well. Huge shout out to you for bringing up Josh Myers. I was gonna bring him up. When you're watching an Ohio State game, I really took it to my eyes when I don't know so I'm watching the Clemson game. Okay, Ohio State versus Clemson, CFP semifinal. And it was funny because I was super nervous going into that game. I'm like, man, Clemson's looked really good this year. We haven't played much. I don't know what to expect. And you see that domination up front. I don't know if you got the chance to watch the game. I'm sure you did. But when you see the domination up front, especially in that interior with Davis and Myers and those guys, they were just pushing people back and getting to the second level. And it was funny because one of my buddies actually texted me and he's like, Duenkel, Ohio State looks good. And I'm like, dude, I'm nervous. It's 14-7. We're losing. He's like, dude, but they're blowing off the ball. Like just they're blowing them off the ball. Just watch Ohio State's offensive line. So all of a sudden I'm just watching the offensive line and Myers is just destroying folks. Davis is just destroying folks. I'm like, oh my God, this guy was right. This is awesome. And I was watching the O-line just go to work that entire game. Like, it's unbelievable to see. And it's unbelievable to see that how much of a game is won and lost at the line of scrimmage, because Ohio State won that game at the line of scrimmage. Like, there's no other way of slicing it. They won it at the line of scrimmage, and Justin Fields' toughness. Those are the two reasons they won the game.
I don't know if you know this, but I was just looking at this here. Ohio State had 5 different linemen on the all Big Ten football team, up first through third. All 5 of them made the list. And they're going to lose a few, but Ohio State, as much as any program, will reload in that position. And if I were you, I wouldn't worry about that, losing those guys. Some of them are studs, but Ohio State seems to always have a stud offensive line. A lot like Wisconsin does. But Ohio State doesn't get that credit like Wisconsin does sometimes.
Right.
Yes, that hurts saying that.
Well, and it's funny because, you definitely look at the Badgers, the past few years up until this season. They were more of a running team with good defense, great offensive line play. You talk about so many of the guys that went there. It's unbelievable. One of my favorites from Wisconsin was Travis Frederick. I mean, you look at the way that man played football, is just unbelievable. And I believe he retired, if I'm not mistaken, last season.
Yeah, well, he had a neck injury that was
Yeah.
pretty substantial, and I think he was maybe 30 years old. But there comes a time where football injuries are tough, and especially as an offensive lineman, especially as a center where you're doing back blocks and you're getting hit in the neck and in the upper shoulder area pretty constant. And I love Travis Frederick too. He was one of my favorites. Tyler Biadasz. Wisconsin centers have a special place in my heart. I remember all the way back when Dominic or Donovan. I don't remember which one it was. One of the brothers, not the Lions guy, but his brother, and that was the first dominant Wisconsin guy. But not the Lions guy. Don't worry, Packers fans. I don't like that guy either.
Not the Lions guy. All right.
Speaking of the Badgers offensive line, they're only really losing Van Lanen and John Beatson. So the left side of their offensive line. You look at some of the guys that can fill that at left tackle. I think you plug in Logan Brown. He got a few reps this year when Van Lanen was out, and he looked good. He's got really good footwork. He's just getting a feel for playing, and he was a former 5-star recruit. So big upside with him. I think he should plug in right at left tackle, and Badgers fans have been waiting for that. Left guard is your question mark, and I'll get into some of those guys who can fill that role in a second. But center, you got Caden Lyles coming back, who didn't play much this year at all. Right guard, you got Logan Bruss, who I just mentioned was an all Big Ten third team. Very good season. And at right tackle, you got Tyler Beach, and that guy's posting workout videos on Instagram every day. So if you're not following Tyler Beach, and I might be plugging because he follows me on Twitter, but he's got some really good workout videos on there. He'll plug in right at right tackle. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Beach or Bruss switch right guard, right tackle. Bruss played right tackle before. But you look at left guard, and there is a lot of names that could fill that spot. Dalen Barrett, Cormac Sampson. He played center last year. Same with true freshman last year, Tanner Bortolini, Aaron Vocal. Josh Seltzner's gotten playing time before. Joe Tippmann's gotten playing time before. A big-time recruit, Trey Wedding. Big-time recruit, Jack Nelson. And, you never know. True freshman 5-star Nolan Rucci. Be interesting to see what he looks like at the D1 competition level. But Badgers offensive line has a lot of big names coming up, and there's guys on the 2022 recruiting list that they're trying to get after that would be even bigger names. So Badger fans, I don't believe a 3-2 season will sit well with this football team. I think there's definitely improvement that will be made this year, specifically at the offensive line. It was an uncharacteristic year last year, but these are names that can get the job done. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely think the Badgers will be back next year. I mean, they're a good team. I think this year you see it a lot in college football and college basketball this season. A lot of teams that have been really good for years have struggled this year, and that is somewhat to be expected. Things aren't normal, and the Badgers definitely, when they're playing at home at Camp Randall, with the crowd going loud and all that, they're definitely a different football team. I expect them to be back. I think they'll definitely be up there in the Big Ten West and could possibly play the Ohio State in the Big Ten title game because no one's beating us next year. I'm telling you that.
And in terms of Wisconsin, I don't think this is mentioned enough. Uh, Together as a unit last year, this offensive line is their first year. They had a lot of
Hmm.
names that left the year prior.
Right.
There wasn't a spring ball game. There wasn't much ability to play together as a unit, which is
Right.
very important as an offensive line. We talked about it with the Browns. We talked about it with the Packers. It's important to be in chemistry with each other. And I think that gets overlooked with Wisconsin, and not just offensive line. You're talking about Graham Mertz at quarterback, true freshman wide receivers, true freshman offensive linemen.
Yeah.
There was a lot of plug and play guys without much experience or much reps even in practice. So maybe you chalk up 3-2 to COVID and you move on.
Right.
At least I am.
Yeah, I definitely, and here's the thing is, um, definitely, I think you saw it this season. The teams that have had very veteran rosters were very good, and that's because they played a lot of time together. And they have good coach, quarterback chemistry, good line chemistry, good defensive chemistry, all the above. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable what chemistry can do for a football team. And also coaching chemistry. That is a huge part of any team. And when you're doing virtual meetings, sometimes you can't really build that coaching chemistry that you need to have success. And that is definitely something. Those are definitely things you look for when working with a football team, especially in college. Where at the pro level, you obviously have your virtual meetings, which you can still do. I think they obviously still do that in college, but you feel like the NFL does enough where they can get the guys into the facility and give them time to gel and connect and all that. So I think next year college football season will be interesting. All I'm hoping for is that we get back to where we were last year, Ohio State, and we finish the job this time around. I was I was not happy after that game. I was not happy with all the heat I took after that game. Some people say I'm a bandwagon fan and were saying I'm going to Alabama. As you guys can see, that's not the case. But actually, believe it or not, the day after that happened, I got in an IG live and I talked about the game, and I was decked out in Ohio State gear. I'm like, see, guys, I'm still an Ohio State fan. And then everyone was like, Dunkle, Ohio,
You
Ohio
know,
State stinks.
you're in Wisconsin. You follow mostly Wisconsin people on Twitter and Instagram. It's going to happen. Wisconsin's definitely got some animosity
I
towards us.
got I got a lot of Michigan fans too. I got a
Well,
lot of Michigan fans.
well, that doesn't help either.
No, it's fun though. It's all in good fun. Like I sometimes people take it way too literally, the smack talk back and forth, and I love it, man. I think it's great for people that have some fun, spread some positivity, and just talk smack. It's a lot of fun, man. And when I was preparing for this, I was like, it was funny because I'm like, I know he doesn't like Ohio State. I gotta wear my Ohio State stuff, and then I'm like, I just had the hat on, and then I'm like, nah, we gotta go big with the 2014 national championship jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the one thing about Ohio State is that they do have some nice jerseys. They might have
Yeah,
stolen the color from Wisconsin, but we'll leave that up to debate.
that's facts. But But let's talk about some Big Ten basketball now. Hit about the Big Ten this season. A lot of great teams. You have Michigan, you have Illinois, you have Ohio State, you have Iowa, you have Wisconsin. Michigan State's finding their footing. You have a lot of great teams in the Big Ten this year. And I wanted to ask you, Big Ten basketball feels to me like it has clearly separated itself as the best conference in college basketball. Do you truly believe that? Because we did a watch on Sunday for the Michigan Ohio State game. Michigan ended up winning 92-87, I believe, and it was a really fun game to watch together. So I want to get your opinions on kind of Big Ten basketball as a whole.
Well, I don't think this can be overlooked, and this is a good way to put it. Four of the top 10 big schools in the top 25 are all Big Ten schools.
Yep.
And except for Michigan, if those other schools were in different conferences, I think they'd be maybe number one. Gonzaga is Gonzaga, and they play schools out in the West Coast. But you look at a school, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State; those are all guys or teams in the top five, and they have to play each other twice a year.
Right.
You look top to bottom. Usually, when you talk about NCAA tournament with the Big Ten, you think 10 wins in conference play, you should be a lock in the conference, and that usually happens from year to year.
Right.
You look at the depth of this season, 8 wins might get you in.
Right.
You're talking about Michigan State finding their footing, and they're 12-9, and they could be a tournament team. They have some impressive wins. They're only 6-9 in the conference.
Right.
They still get in.
Right.
Minnesota, as much as I hate to say it, they have some good wins this year too. They beat Michigan.
Right.
They got waxed by Michigan once, and then they waxed Michigan once. And they're only 6-10, but they could be a tournament team, 13-10 overall.
Yeah.
And if Minnesota's in, if Michigan's in, if Indiana's in, you're talking about 11 teams getting in.
Right.
And I think this conference is a lock every year for 6, 7, 8, but this year you could easily see 10, 11 teams in, and that is unbelievable. Half the conferences out there don't even have 10 teams in it.
Right.
Besides Penn State, Northwestern, and Nebraska, who seem to all habitually be rebuilding, this conference top to bottom is impressive. Teams just finding their footsteps or footwork. Maryland's been really good lately. Rutgers has faltered a little bit, but they're still an impressive school. Indiana battles with everybody. Michigan State, like you said, Michigan State, the name alone, that's a scary team. Minnesota, you never know with Marcus Carr and company. That's another good team. I guess people look at Wisconsin and they say it's such a disappointing year. It's an inconsistent year for sure, but you're still 10-7 in a really good conference. It's a good year. And people argue, well, they finished 8-9 wins in a row last year, and that's just not realistic unless you're Michigan this year. To answer your question, yes, I think the Big Ten is head and shoulders above any other league, and I can't even think of a second league right now. It's that much far ahead.
Yeah, and I think what it speaks to is the Big Ten has gained a lot of respect around the country. Michigan and Ohio State played this weekend. Ohio State lost by 5 points. They didn't even drop a spot. And you want to know why? Because Ohio State played a pretty dang good game. Like, if they were playing probably anybody outside of the top 5, they probably would have won that game on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was. And I think, you make a lot of good points, about Michigan State, about Wisconsin. These teams, they're struggling, but they're also playing in the best conference where you have Ohio State, Michigan, Illinois, and Iowa on the top 10 who you're playing twice a year. That is 8 games of insanely good competition. Plus, you talk about the Indianas, you talk about the Michigan States who play everybody tough. Tom Izzo, obviously, he speaks for himself, and it really says a lot about college basketball right now because you have Michigan State, you have Duke, you have Kentucky, and you have Kansas and you have North Carolina all playing better. Who are all their coaches? Well, Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, Tom Izzo, Bill Self. The list goes on and on. It's unbelievable, and I think for the Big Ten, for the people in that conference, it's great. And when you talk about the football teams in that conference, unbelievable conference for football. Great conference for basketball. I was looking today. I saw an interesting stat that like 7 Big Ten teams are ranked in volleyball right now. Like it's unbelievable. Like the Big Ten is just unreal, and obviously, I'll be the first to tell you I vote for the Big Ten. I hope everyone does well, and I can't wait till we start this Big Ten tournament. I cannot wait because I think it's going to be pure madness. Like it's going to be the pre-March madness because you talk about these teams. You know, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, and Ohio State are all sitting there. Only 2 of those teams are going to play for the championship. That is the crazy part.
Well, I
It's
think,
absolutely
yeah.
insane.
And anytime you talk about the Big Ten tournament, it always seems to be, well, who's hot?
Right.
And that's a big reason why Michigan State is scary. Um, there's a lot of scary teams right now. And it's you like the Big Ten usually because you eliminate that home court advantage. I don't know how big of home court advantage there was this year, but it is still a factor. You're all in the same place. You're playing back-to-back games. I think you look at a team like Wisconsin. I think that's where it could help them with all the experience. They know how to get their bodies back. They know how to. They know how they've been through the college ringer. They understand what it takes in a tournament like that. But you look at teams like Illinois. You can make the same argument. They've got guys who've been good for multiple years now. Dosumu and Cockburn. This is both their second year of being 2 of the top talents in the Big Ten. And it'll be interesting to see where they get in the NBA. Those are 2 NBA players. Michigan's got a bunch of NBA players as well. Hunter Dickinson, if he comes back, if there's a slight chance he comes back this year, I think he's your favorite for Big Ten Player of the Year next year. But there's a big chance he leaves. And he's a true freshman. It's Purdue's always got a 7'4" guy. That's tough in any. It's tough against any team if they're 7'4". But each team's got a specific skill set that's very different from each other, and it's hard to prepare for. And that's the beauty of the Big Ten tournament. You'll play a team where you have really good guards, and the next day you'll play a team with really good front court. So I'm excited for it too. I really am.
So I do know that you are a huge Timberwolves fan. I always see you tweeting about the Timberwolves on Twitter.
I try to be, anyways.
One quick question before we're done here. What were your thoughts on the hiring of their new coach? What were your thoughts?
It definitely surprised me. Ryan Saunders, great guy. He grew up in Minnesota. His dad was, and this isn't saying much, but maybe the best head coach in Timberwolves history. And the great late Flip Saunders. But Ryan Saunders was, he's a very young guy. He's very passionate about the sport, but he just didn't have enough experience at the NBA head coaching level. He could be a great coach someday. It wouldn't surprise me, but the rotations were really bad for the Timberwolves. And you look at the talent on their team, and 7-24. It's not a roster that should be 7-24. They had a lot of late fourth quarter leads that they let crumble. And some of his rotations, he didn't have any scoring threat out there. It was a questionable hire to begin with. He didn't last long, a year and a half. But you move to a guy, Chris Finch, from the Raptors, and that was really surprising. Especially today, there's a lot of backlash on Twitter because they had David Vanderpool as an assistant coach who had 12 or 10 years of experience. and people really kind of wanted him to be the next coach. But they hired Chris Finch, and when you look at it, it wasn't as surprising of a hire. Gerson Rosas, the president of the Timberwolves, worked with Finch when Rosas was in Houston. Finch was a finalist when Saunders was hired. Finch has 20 plus years experience coaching. He's an offensive-minded coach, and that was something the Timberwolves are really struggling at. What I like about Finch, diving into it deeper, is that he's had stops with two really good big men in the game, and you might recognize their names. Nikola Jokic, when he was at Denver, and then he was in New Orleans when Anthony Davis was there. So to me, that means he knows how to handle big men. The Timberwolves have a really good one in Cat. It's just about getting him consistent and getting an offense that works with him. If they can figure that out, I think the Timberwolves will be a much better team. Last night was really poor defensively. Bucks shot the lights out, just combination of both. But it was encouraging. The Timberwolves scored over 100 points for the first time in 3 games or something like that. And Cat had a career high in assists his first game. So, I mean, that should tell you right there that the offense is designed to revolve around Cat. So we'll see. Time will tell with this hire. But it was surprising at the time. But looking at it now, I think Rosas got his guy now. And I guess Rosas as the president, I think, there's no more excuses. This kind of has to work now.
Totally agree. I think that it is going to be definitely interesting to watch. Timberwolves are definitely a good team. D'Angelo Russell, Karl Towns, Anthony Edwards is having a great rookie season, and it'll be interesting to see what the Timberwolves do from here. But before we let you guys go, just want to say another huge shout out to Wisconsin Sports Heroics. Make sure to follow them down below. Make sure to follow Coach Riley on Twitter. Man is awesome to follow. If you guys want some good online content, talking crap to I believe, weren't you talking crap to Corey Banky? If I'm not mistaken. Gloves guy, yeah.
Well, and this might upset some of the Packer fans, but he said something to the line of anybody that picks living in Green Bay over Madison has something mentally wrong with them, and us Badgers guys we take offense to that. So I want you to know I am a Packers fan,
right?
But I am a Badgers fan first and foremost, and Madison is like a mecca. So yeah, it was a big Badgers Twitter versus we call him Gloves guy.
Oh boy. Yeah, well, that was definitely a lot of fun. I just kind of sat back and watched because, I think both are great. Been to Madison before. Been inside Camp Randall. It's a great place. Been to a game there. Great place to go for a game. And Lambeau's Lambeau. I mean, there ain't much better than Lambeau. And obviously we'll see what other stadiums I go to in my lifetime. And I would say Green Bay is a little bit better. But I'm not a Badgers fan, so
it was a passionate statement from I'll keep calling him Gloves guy. When Jim Leonard chose Madison, and there's a lot of logical reasons besides him liking Madison.
Right.
That wasn't a factor, more than likely, at all.
I don't think it was. I think it was more about the job. I think Leonard's a Wisconsin. I think Leonard's gonna stay in Wisconsin for a while. I don't really see him leaving. Especially considering he turned down a defensive coordinator job in the NFL. He's gonna stick around Madison for a while, and shout out to him for sticking his ground and doing what he wants to do. That's awesome. But Mr. Coach Riley, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate him so much for coming on the show. If you wouldn't mind, stick around for a few minutes after. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Comment who you want to see on the show, what topics you guys want to see. If you guys want to see Coach Riley back on the show for us to talk some more offensive line, let us know. Also, make sure you guys hit the links down below. check out WisconsinSportsHeroics.com. Check out Wisconsin Sports Heroics on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And check out an article that I will have linked down below. Appreciate everyone for checking us out. Keep striving for greatness. Keep living life. And we appreciate y'all. Have a good night.